Welcome to Featured Insights, presented by Caroline Economic Development. I'm your host, Debbie Bowden. This podcast is for all size businesses in Caroline County and the Eastern Shore of Maryland to learn from experts at the local, state, and national level. We hope that you gain insights that can help your business run more effectively. So today I'm talking with Tara Hill-Coursey, tourism guru for Caroline County. Hi, Tara. How are you?
Hi, Debbie. I'm good. Thanks.
Good. So this is actually the second time we've talked, and this is really exciting. You're our first, most important guest on the Featured Insights podcast.
I'm flattered.
Well, it's because you really have done a great job at bringing the idea of tourism and awareness for Caroline County to the forefront. You've been in the role for a year and a half, almost two. Mm-hmm. So I think this is good. So you focused away from, or you're still focusing on marketing, right? Marketing the county. Share a little bit about that. What's been going on? What are you looking at for marketing?
Sure. So with my role in tourism, we are supposed to market and brand our county as a destination, not only within the state, but outside of the state, that one day trip, or even weekenders, and pulling from other locations. So that marketing comes in the form of print media, digital media, radio advertising, streaming services, and of course, social media. So that's what we are really founded on. However, the idea of looking at the experience more so is coming to the forefront for me, and it's starting to play a major role in how we pull in different players and really brand our destination in a different respect.
Who are some of those players?
So it'll be our internal stakeholders and certainly our external stakeholders. And we also make collaborative efforts across the state with other people that are in my role. So, and building that awareness, like, again, I'd like to really focus on the internal stakeholders more so, letting them know that tourism is certainly a viable entity and it has such an economic impact for our area.
It really does. It really does. So a lot of what we're looking at in economic development, some insight into what we do here is help support those businesses that support the visitors, right? The county visitors to the restaurants and the gift shops, et cetera. Talk a little bit about that. How's that role kind of morphed over the last couple months where you're marketing, but you're also working on that entrepreneurial side?
Sure. So I think it's even been longer than the past few months. I think that there's been an uptick in budding entrepreneurs since everyone had that downtime and had the opportunity to hone their crafts. So there are more bakers, there are more makers and crafters out there. But our traditional small business owners really need people like boots on the ground to come into our towns, our downtowns, to spend money, to get those unique gifts and those unique finds. And I in a recent conversation, I know that people that are traveling from the metropolitan area, they find it so unique to be the first one to say go to Patty's Petals and be able to find a gift that's unique to Caroline County that they can take back to DC and say, hey, I found this first.
Right. That's something that we've been learning as we've been talking to the stakeholders is that talk a little bit about that, this idea that I found it first, or I'm here and I'm talking to the owner of the business.
Right. So that's one thing that puts us in a unique position as well, because we give you that small town charm. When you're leaving the hustle and bustle of the big city and you come out here to this rural, beautiful area with this incredible landscape, you're going to go in the restaurant and you're going to meet the person that's actually the owner there.
Right. You're going to see Nick. You're going to see Nancy.
You're going to see Nick. You're going to see Nancy at Caroline's table. You're going to see Patty at Patty's Pedal. And again, not only just the unique gift shops, but we have a new vegan eatery. And people are really literally canvassing this area just to come to that. They've signed up for this app that is specific to people that eat vegan food, and they're pulling people in droves. And again, that metropolitan area, people from Philadelphia coming to Earth Tones Cafe just to get that cuisine. And you're going to meet the people that work there, that own the establishment too.
Well, and so, and we'll get back to that in a second.
Sure.
So Kim and Patty and how that is connected. What is the name of that app? Because it's nothing that we're promoting or sponsoring.
Happy Panda.
Okay. Google that, folks, and look for that. It's a vegan eatery locator app, right? And let's talk a little bit about that. So our production team just let us know it's Happy Cow.
So it's not the same size, but definitely an animal, and it's definitely happy. So check that out.
Right. Not a lot of pandas in Caroline County, but there's cows. So that's how we'll remember it from now on. So it's for vegetarian. Vegetarian. So, so let's talk about, that coming in and meeting the folks. So that's something that really is in Caroline County. So you can meet Kim, who is the daughter of Patty. Kim is also the partner with Sean. So all of that right there in downtown Denton. Let's go outside of the town a little bit and talk about the farm, where people can go to see livestock or unique finds there.
Sure. So there's two alpaca farms in the county, one being Outstanding Dreams Alpaca Farm, where Phil and Vicky List are the proud owners, and they welcome, invite people in. And they also have homemade unique gifts there that they use out of actual alpaca fiber. And they're always looking for people to come and even stay. And they have a great big festival each year as well. There's also an exotic animal farm. It started as a rescue. So you're going to be able to go there and see animals that aren't akin to our area. Not a panda, but a bunch of other animals are there too. So people that are interested in that. And then I'd like to speak to that in the respect of tourism means whatever people want to experience.
Oh, that's good. That's deep.
So it could be the animals, it could be the food, it could be the distilleries, it could be finding those unique gifts. Tourism is whatever people can imagine. And I want people to understand that a bit more.
So let's take that then from an economic development side, from a business owner side. So this audience, hopefully it's Caroline County, the Eastern Shore of Maryland, a little bit of Delaware maybe. If I'm a small business owner or I've got a side hustle or I'm doing something, how do I tap into those visitors? How do I make sure they know I've got something to offer as an experience?
I would suggest that they reach out to our office first.
Okay.
We can provide that canvas for them. Let them know what we're seeing as far as trends and see if they have a market here and put them in position to either have a brick and mortar and or go to the events, do a pop-up, see how well you do.
There you go. Yeah, so those events are a big part. We've got a lot of the towns, some of the bigger towns, some big events. Talk a little bit about that. There's been, in this last year or so, since COVID, there were events that were put on by the towns, and then there were events that were put on by the private sector. Share a little bit about that so that people who are listening can think, oh, I can do an event too.
Yeah. So there are, like you said, a ton of things going on, a lot of which are run by the individual towns. There's a lot of great things happening in Greensboro, a year long, from fishing derbies to parades to everything that just happened this past holiday season. Preston is tapping into the music scene.
Yeah.
So we're having a lot of music events take place at their local park. Federalsburg, really anchored by the town and the historical societies coming up on their bicentennial. So there's things that are constantly happening year round, and that's just from the town standpoint. Now, this past April, a few business owners right in Denton held a first ever Canifest. They have an interest in it. One of the owners has a very successful CBD store in downtown Denton. The other owns a clothing store in downtown Denton. So with two of those worlds combined, and there were thousands of people that came out for that event.
That's awesome. And so you mentioned the alpaca farm. I know there's a lavender farm that has a small event that brings in people from all over the place. So, so those who are listening, if you have a unique, or maybe you don't think it's unique,
Right.
that's something else, right? That people don't understand exactly what they have to share. And so talking with you and working on that idea sharing, and then coming to our office, to the economic development side of the shop, and talking with our small business development coordinator on how to really get that going. Let's see, what else do you have going on? So we talked a little bit, there's a brand name, isn't there, for this idea of having people come over for a day?
Yes.
And that is?
Be our neighbor for a day.
Yes.
Be our neighbor for a day. That's what we're working on.
Right. And that came up because I admit, I had a friend of mine who we came over, went to Caroline's. She got to meet the owner, Nancy Minahan, and she was said, "This is an awesome way that whenever I come to Caroline County, any of the towns, any of the businesses, I feel like I'm somebody's neighbor. I feel like I'm somebody's friend." So we want to capitalize on that and let other folks that are outside of Caroline County and Delmarva and the Eastern Shore know about that. What else you got going on? You've got some, I'm going to cheat a little bit. You got some notes there. What were we supposed to be talking about?
Just a few notes. So,
Okay.
so right now our office is undergoing a hotel
Oh, thank you
feasibility
for bringing
study.
that. Yes.
Yes. So, tourism is one thing, and then the real definition of tourism is having heads in beds. So right now we're working with some partners to see if it's feasible for us to have another accommodation space. It's not just to have people stay overnight for they're coming for family reunions or they're coming to the festivals, but quiet as kept, we have a lot of manufacturing and industry in our area as well. So when you think about that, there are stakeholders for those businesses that come in from other states, other towns, and they're visiting the company that they have a vested interest in, and they need somewhere to stay too.
Right.
So thinking in terms of our internal stakeholders and people that are coming outside in, we want to offer up a space for them to have retreats, to have events, Christmas parties, you name it. So that study is underway right now. And something interesting that I actually just read is across the mid-shore, we probably have the third largest population, but we're only capturing about 2.5% of the people that are staying overnight.
Wow.
So that's pretty insightful in the first stages of the research, and we'll see what happens, and hopefully we'll have a couple of different sites to offer up and see if we can have more accommodations. Because again, that will not only be beneficial to the economic factor, but our internal people, and then people that want to come and stay a weekend or a week here in Caroline.
Exactly. And so from a perspective that this is not the county looking to develop an event space or a hotel or accommodation space. This is information that we're gathering to be able to give to the private sector investment, because that's what's important. That's what's going to be sustained. And I think we have all kinds of levels. We've heard a little bit of talk, right, from some local folks
Yes.
who have that interest, from something that's in the strategic plan all the way to potentially talking with some of the regional or national developers of that.
Yes.
So, that study, that's why we do that study. There's another study that we're looking at too, right?
Right. So that's the value-added agriculture.
What does that mean?
What does that
She
mean?
asked.
So basically, because we are heavy on agriculture here, it's taking that raw ag and making it more profitable. So what do you do with it? If you're already processing meats, if you've got bacon or steaks, make a jerky. So that has a longer shelf life for you, and it's expanding your product. Like you mentioned, the lavender farm. You can make lavender wreaths. You can make lavender scents.
Yeah.
So that's value-added agriculture from the raw things that they're already producing. The alpaca farm, again, I mentioned that they use the alpaca fibers to make socks and sweaters and things like that. So that's really what value-added agriculture is. And I'd like to expand on that a bit too, because in the eyes of tourism, value-added ag and the economic impact of that could even mean offering a place for people to have a different type of camping excursion, an immersive camping excursion on your farm or things like that. Anything that drives economics and something that you already have is what value-added agriculture is.
So we get questioned a lot if we have farm tours, right? So that's something I think that it's on your to-do list somewhere as far as a priority, is letting people know how to get there. Again, not developing it, not developing you want to look into itineraries. We'll hit on that in a second, but also just letting people know where that is. You're partnering with a couple of the surrounding tourist office to develop a map of some type, right?
Yes. So there's a couple of different maps, and we call that wayfinding, so to speak. So
let's say that word again.
Wayfinding.
Okay.
Wayfinding. So that's a way to help people that are coming in to navigate the area where they are. Okay. So it's signage, it's quilts, it's even having some type of app that shows you all the farms that will welcome you to come and and tour with them.
Okay.
So it's a way to navigate the area without needing a person, a tour guide. It's,
Sure.
it's a self-guided thing.
Right.
And also murals. We're looking into that as well. So just developing more of the wayfinding and looking at it in unique ways, and letting that experience be one of its own and not guided by
Right.
someone else is something that we're working on right now.
So I think that's important to kind of dig into a little bit deeper. So that's the change in tourism over the last, 10 years or
Yeah.
so. People are relying on their devices
Right.
to be the expert in telling them where to go. And
Mm-hmm.
so capitalizing on that, that's something that we hear a lot for our local partners. They want us to be able to say, this is what's happening and this is where to go. So it's taking that and putting that on a device so that it makes it easy and convenient.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it's easier to update too.
Absolutely. Because as things change, businesses close or, change hands. Things just change so often, and having that print material and it's kind of permanent and it has that year to a year and a half shelf life, we try to get away from that because then we can cut our costs as well.
Yeah.
And I'll add to that too, Debbie. I've shown people how to use QR codes.
I was hoping you were going to talk about
I've
QR
literally
codes,
gone out and
'cause you
talked
are
to
the
groups.
queen.
I've talked to, the ladies from the garden club, the birding club, people that have kind of had to gravitate more so to their device because technology was the way that we absolutely had to work 2 years ago.
Right.
And they're excited to learn something new. So it's not a scary thing to see a QR code anymore or
Right.
to go up to a kiosk and let it talk to you and help you, or even your phone for that matter. I see less flip phones and more, smartphones now.
Right.
So we're gradually ushering our way into that technology, and we're just developing new ways to put it out there.
Give a quick tutorial on QR codes. What are they and how do they work?
So if you've ever seen a Coca-Cola can and it has like a little box and it's black and white, it's got those squiggly lines,
Okay.
it's pixelated. That's called the QR code, and that's a code that goes directly to Coca-Cola's website, per se. You use your phone, like you're going to take a picture. You open
Okay.
up your photo, your camera, and you place it right over top the QR code. And then the website for whatever you're scanning is right there. It's clickable, and you can open it. And it takes seconds to do.
Now, what if I want to do a QR code? What if I'm the lavender farm or the alpaca farm or the clothing store? How do I do that? Do I have to get a graphic designer to do that?
No.
Okay.
No. That's just a website you can go to.
Okay.
QR codes are free to they're very inexpensive to free. I'll say it that way.
Good.
Very easy to obtain. In fact, I gave, it was like a buzzword for me when I was going to the historical societies because they're like, how can we get people in? I was like, you should try this. Do a little teaser with a QR code. A month later, I come back and they had a QR code, a brand new pamphlet, and they were so excited to show me, Tara, look what we did.
That's awesome.
That's how easy it is to do.
So that's the value you bring for county tourism office is sharing this new and exciting ways of doing things and letting everybody know in Caroline County, whether they are operating a large hotel or operating a historical society as a volunteer base, how to best utilize and best get the people who want to come see. That's the thing, right? People want to come to Caroline County.
Yes, people want to come here.
They want to come in, spend their money, and then they're happy to go elsewhere. And we're fine with that too, until we get those more hotels and accommodations
Yes.
set up.
Yes.
I want to say thank you because this has been a great partnership right from the get-go, right? Do you have anything for me? Anything that you think that people in the tourism industry might want to be looking at from an economic development standpoint?
Sure. I guess I'd like to know from your mind what tourism data would help economic development move the needle, and in what way?
Oh, that's a good, deep question. So I think from an economic development standpoint, two things that tourism has always been talked about is that it brings awareness to the area. So if you're coming to visit, then you're at least here and you might drive around and happen to see, oh, there's a building for sale, or look at that industrial place. That's the size and scale of my own business, or it's a good place to live, or it's a good place to have a second home. So those business owners that are coming in, and that can be everywhere, again, from corporate America all the way down to the small side hustle, just getting started entrepreneurial. tourism is a natural way for them to come in and see the place in a nice, safe place. And they don't have to worry about meeting with a realtor or meeting with an economic developer. They're just seeing it on their own. So that data, that pure 100% visitor data and where they're coming from and where they're spending their money is helpful for economic development because it gives us some insight. Okay, we're seeing a lot of activity from middle of Pennsylvania. We're not seeing so much from middle of Virginia, for example. And then just what is that money? So there's been this back and forth in economic development world that retail, which includes your gift shops and your, the big box stores, restaurants, liquor stores, etc., isn't really about economic development. It's shifted. It shifted after COVID because we saw how closing those places, the mandated closings, really impacted the economy overall. So having that data on a pure economic standpoint, what is the revenue? Where's the capital coming in? What are people looking for? It builds the amenities that people who are here want to see. It helps with the tourism. So you go to a town and you see an active restaurant, you see an active, big box store, you think, oh, that's a happening place. And so that data, where is that coming from? Where are those people spending their money? That's what's important. And then finally, I don't know so much about how tourism is tracking this, but that travel through data, right? So in Caroline County, we're known as the 404 County. That's a roadway that connects the western shore of Maryland down to the beaches. And when the improvements were made on that and allowed for traffic to flow through more, we start seeing more development.
Yes.
Well, those are visitors. Those are tourists. So that traffic data can also be helpful from economic standpoint. You get no more questions because that was deep and good.
But you answered it, and I
did.
love it. I love it because we're working in tandem, and we don't even know it.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Well, thank you so much again
Sure.
for joining us. This is fantastic. You are, doing a great job representing Caroline County. And not just in Caroline County with your local partners, but also across the state as the tourism representative for Caroline County. Any last words?
No, I'm having a fantastic time doing
Good.
this. It doesn't feel like work, and it's such a pleasure to bring people to the county and certainly work with the people within the county as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe to Featured Insights and look for us on your favorite podcast platform.